Hello, I am the CETL director, Lenny Amortis, and we're going to talk about how to make sure your course is OSCQR aligned, and that stands for Online SUNY Course Quality Review. They have a rubric which you've seen in the module, and you just want to make sure that you are meeting all of these rubric criteria. Sometimes it can be overwhelming to look at this rubric. I think it's maybe 50 different things. Let's just look at the course that you're taking now to see how it aligns. You don't need this first page, like having a home page, but you're going to make sure you're using modules. Make sure that your modules are set up in a way that helps the student move along in the class, and you want to make sure that they understand what they have to do and when they have to do it. I know that there is a tendency to create modules where one module is all assignments and another module is all resources. For best practices, it's thinking about your units of content. So a module is going to be a unit of content. For this first module here, I have preparing to teach online, and then this module 1, preparing to teach online overview, tells the student what the goals are, what the outcomes are, and what we're going to do here. And then if you want to, you can link the different activities. You don't have to do this extra step because they'll see that within the module. The student, if it's set up correctly, should be able to use this next button and go to the next thing in the order that you want them to complete the activities or readings. That is one of the first things, is to set things up in modules. If you think of modules as a week, that is fine, especially in an online course with about 7 weeks. But if you're in a 15-week course, sometimes having 15 different modules could be confusing for students because they only remember 7 different topics. Normally you're not going to have 15 different chapters, right? So think of a module as either a unit of content or even a chapter. If you have 5 chapters in that semester, then maybe one module is a chapter. If you have lots and lots of assignments, like I know Spanish tends to have lots of things, it may make more sense to separate things out in weeks if you have lots of activities that you've created on Canvas. We have our module overview, and the different assignments or pages for that module. Think of a module as having sometimes, not all the time, assessment at the end. It could have a quiz, a project, or just a little review. Did you capture what we did in this module? Another thing that is important is looking at accessibility for online courses. When building out your page, there is an accessibility checker right here. If there are no accessibility issues, you'll have these balloons on the right. If you do have an issue, it'll walk you through the errors. The most common issue is not using heading structure, so you want to use heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, and then paragraph structures. You also want to add alt text to your images. So if you have an image, you're going to put alt text. That is for accessibility. Another thing that you should always have is some kind of Start Here module that introduces students to how the course is set up. You can start with a welcome video. Many faculty, especially that teach online, would create a video here and explain how the course is set up and what to expect. This also starts creating community for students. What I like to do in the Start Here module is have students introduce themselves in a video with a discussion. Here's an example in your own course where there's an activity where you have to reply with a video, and then a classmate has to respond to one of those videos. That way we know who's in the course and you don't feel like you're alone. I also have them include a photo for their avatar so that in Canvas you can see a photo of them. It helps you remember who students are since you don't really see them in an online course. I have them configure their Canvas notifications just in case. I also like them to do a technology checkup. So when they have questions about the tech, I always send them back to this page. I've created a template for you that is on Canvas Commons. We can talk about that in a second. All of these examples you can bring into your own course. There's also a faculty resources and support here in this course, but for students in the template, I've included one that's student resources. There's a question and answer or Q&A. One of the things that I like about the Q&A, this is an ungraded discussion where students can post questions and then you can answer them, or even another student in the class can answer the question. If someone needs clarification on an assignment, they can ask here. You can answer the question once, and then you don't get 30 different emails about the exact same thing. So you can always say, did you check the Q&A? I answered that question in the Q&A. One recommendation with OSCQR is to have kind of so that the students understand what the learning outcomes are and how things work together. This kind of sets up what the course learning outcomes and then what the module outcomes are and how they relate to one another. This helps you also keep track of things. There may be a few things that I need to change about this. If you do notice an error or a difference in an outcome, I may have changed the outcome since I created the course. Here is preparing to teach online overview. We talked about that. Let me just go back to a few other things that make it easy for you to follow, or makes it easy for students to follow an online course. Is besides the accessibility, besides the module structure, is changing what is available in their navigation. So when you go to settings and navigation, you can disable the things that you're not going to use in the class. So if you are using Zoom, then of course put Zoom back in there. If you are using certain things, you can bring them here. Notice that I do not make available things like assignments or discussions or files or pages. Why? Because I like to include all of those within the module structure. So if I'm using the modules, the students don't have access to just go and see all of the assignments. If they were to see all of the assignments, sometimes it would look like a mess to them. So disable the assignments. Do everything within your modules. That is going to make it easy for students to understand everything, what they need to accomplish. And the other thing is that you want to be very aware of is just learning the different technology, using the different technology, the Canvas tools, so that you understand how to use them and you can help students troubleshoot. You can, of course, have them reach out to Brenda Snyder, who gives direct support to students in Canvas, and they can also reach out to IT if it's an IT issue. But that can be very stressful sometimes, with the summer and contacting everyone. So if you learn the technology, if you have any questions about troubleshooting, then you can also reach out to me at CETL, CETL at lincoln.edu, and I can give you some troubleshooting advice. It's nice to make sure that you also can anticipate those things. If you want them to do something like create a video, then give them the instructions to create a video. If you are thinking, how do I get the instructions? Then you can always use the Canvas guides. And to find those, you go to the help here on the side. You have ask the community, get help. But then there's also search the Canvas guide. As faculty, you also have chat with Canvas support that's always available to you. So that is just a quick rundown of how to make things more compliant with OSCQR. And if you have any questions, then please reach out to me at CETL at lincoln.edu. Thank you.